Hi, everybody. Oh, man. Sorry about that. I wasn't in uniform. I wasn't ready. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And that was some mobile footage. Calder-esque. I don't know if it was Calder exactly, the artist. But I think that was part of a collection of 16 that I got from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. They were getting rid of a bunch of their films, and I had just done a show there, and they reached out and said, "Hey, do you want these?" I was like, "Sure." So anyways, no sound, no notes, nothing. So there you go. As I said, well, let's backtrack a little bit. One, thanks to those of you who tuned in yesterday when we celebrated Home Movie Day here at AV Geeks. Thanks to Rick and Cynthia for winning and playing and winning bingo. A bunch of you played bingo, but they were the ones that won. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. What's interesting is that I didn't get any copyright notifications from it because there was no sound. There were no music cues that were being tagged by the YouTube robot. So, yay. But yesterday I mentioned the fact that I got this box in the mail. And it's not quite zooming in. But it's from the Ukraine. And I got 3 Soviet-era educational films. So we're gonna watch them. So I won't tell you the titles. I'll let you kind of guess them. But I have them set up on the film scanner behind me. So let's enjoy.
Школы нашей страны перешли на кабинетную систему обучения. Этот кабинет биологии оборудован техническими средствами: кинопроектором, диапроектором, телевизором. Учитель располагает различными аудиовизуальными пособиями. Как их систематизировать и правильно хранить? Основа систематизации – картотека и каталог. Все вновь полученные пособия обязательно инвентаризируются. Рядом с названием пособия стоит его номер по каталогу. К каждой теме программы составляется особая карточка. В карточку вносятся все имеющиеся пособия по этой теме в комплексе. Рядом с названием пособия в карточке стоит номер, соответствующий номеру пособия в каталоге. По карточке учитель отбирает те пособия, которые соответствуют задаче на данном уроке. Все аудиовизуальные пособия надо правильно хранить. Кинофрагменты и кинокольцовки хранятся в специальном металлическом шкафу фильмостате. Он должен стоять вдали от источников тепла. Кинопособия хранятся в металлических коробках в горизонтальном положении. Если кинофрагмент в картонной коробке, то пленку упаковывают в полиэтиленовый пакет. Пленку необходимо периодически увлажнять. В коробку с фильмом на 2-3 дня кладут фильтровальную бумагу, смоченную дистиллированной водой. В этом случае кинопленка на бобине должна быть намотана неплотно. Диафильмы можно хранить в ящике с ячейками или повесить на стену полотнище с гнездами. На каждую коробочку ставится номер из каталога кабинета. Пластинки должны быть обязательно упакованы в полиэтиленовые пакеты и установлены вертикально. Наклонное положение недопустимо. Если пластинка запылилась и звучание искажено, ее промывают губкой, смоченной дистиллированной водой. Транспаранты к кодоскопу также должны храниться в полиэтиленовых пакетах и вертикально. Систематизация аудиовизуальных пособий поможет вам быстро и точно отобрать их к уроку, а правильное хранение сделает пособия более долговечными.
That was really, really, really awesome.
Вот это придется убрать.
Почему?
А потому что вата и целлулоидные игрушки легко загораются. Так елку не украшают. Что у тебя там, Булыгин? Покажи. Ты хорошо рисуешь, Булыгин. Урок окончен. Можете выходить.
За что ты обидел Веру Сергеевну?
Она ведь хорошая. Да, хорошая. Небось, побежала директору ябедничать. Лучше сама бы обругал. А то еще подсмеивается. Ты хорошо рисуешь, Булыгин.
Пошли, пошли.
Все-таки хорошо рисует. А ведь Вера Сергеевна никому ничего не сказала. Да. Булыгин, слышишь? 3 дня прошло. Вера Сергеевна!
Вера Сергеевна, мы решили поговорить с Булыгиным на совете дружины.
Он не должен был рисовать вас. Так.
Может быть, я была слишком придирчива тогда. Но понимаете ли вы, к какой большой беде может привести пожар? На всю жизнь запомнилось мне. Давно это было. Детский сад в пригороде. Я работала в нем воспитательницей. Тогда я еще только мечтала поступить в институт. Однажды я задержалась после работы. К экзаменам готовилась. А по вечерам у нас тихо было. В тот долгий зимний вечер беда пришла нежданно. Спасти детей было первой моей мыслью. Я понимаю, что теперь главное спокойствие. Никакой паники. Дети, вставайте быстрее, мы пойдем гулять. Мне невольно пришлось обмануть детей. Пожар! Пожар! Старшую группу быстро вывели на улицу. Дети оделись сами. Но что делать с малышами? Ведь нельзя было медлить ни секунды. Запасный выход оказался закрытым. Остался только один путь. Юра! Где Юра? Юру удалось спасти. Пожарные быстро потушили огонь. Вот и все.
Нет, не все рассказала вам Вера Сергеевна. Она умолчала о том, что, спасая ребенка, сама чуть не стала жертвой огня. Вот, узнаете.
Вера Сергеевна, такая молоденькая.
Она мальчика спасла.
Вот храбрая.
Простите, Вера Сергеевна,
Я не сержусь.
Вот и конец истории, которую рассказала учитель. Нам остается только добавить, там, где дети, будьте особенно осторожны с огнем. Они говорят по-английски. В средней общеобразовательной школе номер 29 города Полтавы в первых-четвертых классах введена экспериментальная система обучения английскому языку. Мы познакомим вас с уроком, который ведет учитель-методист Тамара Леонидовна Сирык.
Good afternoon.
3 класс.
Sit down. Let's begin our lesson. Sir, who is on duty today?
I'm on duty today, and clearly because it's my turn to be on duty. These are the one half a dollar I have. Here I am, China, where on duty last time. Don't you know who is that? Answer me, I know. Who is that, sir? Chinese accent. What's the matter with her? I don't know exactly, but it seems to me she is this. And it's no wonder. The weather is bad today, the sky is green, the sun is not shining brightly. It is cold, but it's a pity she has got cold found.
С первых минут активная речевая практика. Проговаривая речь дежурных, каждый ученик следит за ней, оценивает ее содержание, стремится высказать свою точку зрения.
The books, the copybooks, the daybooks are on the desks, the chalk and the doctor are on the blackboard. And that's why I have come to the conclusion that the classroom is ready for the lesson. I have no remark.
Sir, good, you're welcome. You have no remarks?
Oh, you can say that you have no remarks. I don't agree with you. You are mistaken. Don't deceive. You are on duty, but you neglect your duty. As regards me, I'm not satisfied with the pupils on duty. That's quite clear because you can say that the chalk is on the blackboard. Look, the chalk is not on the blackboard. You can say that the dust is on the blackboard. Look, the dust is not on the blackboard. By the way, here you watch the floor, here you water the flowers. From my point of view, you cannot watch the floor. You cannot water the flowers. And that's why I'm not satisfied with the pupils on duty at all.
Sir, good day. Good day, you're welcome, Kuzanka.
Oh, you know, you can hit the nail on the head. It's very nice that our thoughts go aside and we do not defend in the opinion. But just for me, I don't want to say about the pupils on duty. I want to say a few words about those behaviors.
Речевая деятельность учащихся строится по принципу «скажи, докажи, сделай вывод».
aware of their behavior. And it's no wonder because I saw Svintitska running, I saw Jimkova jumping, I saw Sityuk fighting with Kachenka. Vak seems to be nothing but the troublemaker. She is always creating disturbances in the classroom. Girls, don't be offended with me, but the irrefutable facts say themselves. What? You have said that my behavior is very bad. I don't agree with you. You're mistaken. What nonsense you're...
Обратите внимание на темп урока. Подсчитано, что каждый ученик у Тамары Леонидовны говорит примерно 120-150 предложений. В 3-4 раза больше учителя.
Maybe you could just take another side to girls, and that's why you criticize them. But from my point of view, you can't make the conclusion. But as proverb says, haste makes waste.
Good, all right, good. Sir, you're welcome here.
Have a listen to my classmates. Good on the they criticize me treacherously. Girls protect me, but boys accuse me. And it's no wonder because boys touch me all the time, but I party with them. And it's no wonder because, as for me, I can manage with the boys myself, and that's why I party with them. But as for my character, from my point of view, my character is not so bad. But as far as I know, it's not polite to praise myself. But probably boys, we are all too ready to see other pupils fail and forget our role. Look at yourselves.
All right, good, Sasha, you're welcome.
Hey, listen to my classmates. I have come to the conclusion that some of the pupils are not satisfied with their criticism and they want to vindicate themselves at all costs. As regards me, I have been listening to them approximately for 10 minutes, and I vindicate neither boys nor girls. Both of them are good. As far as we know, each person is endowed with the positive and negative features. And that's why it's no wonder that sometimes girls' behavior is very bad, but sometimes boys' behavior is very bad. By the way, girls and boys, look at yourself.
All right, good. How is it necessary to combine criticism with our school? Who like?
Преподаватель расширяет тему беседы, предлагает новую ситуацию – ученик и школа. Пользуясь усвоенным материалом, ученики переходят к этой теме.
All people are busy with the fulfillment of the decisions, the benefits, Congress of the USSR, and the big visas to study, and we must follow the beckett of the mission. Must we just get down for the beckett of the mission, and just mark 3 at all subjects.
In all subjects, it's very nice in all subjects.
Oh, tomorrow, as for me, I should combine sexually. Having listened to Sasha, I have come to the conclusion that Sasha has touched upon the safety of study, but has not revealed all facts concerning study. And that's why I want to say a few words about education, because education plays an especially role in the life of people. Our country is building on the economy. But in order to build economy, it's necessary to be educated. But in order to be educated, it's necessary to study. But in order to study, it's necessary to go to school. Suffice it to say that our children have opportunity to study because our Constitution guarantees the right to study, and that's why education in the Soviet Union is free of charge. Our government and the Communist Party give much attention to our children. And that's why at the 25th Congress it was sought to build many schools. And our school, I don't know how to say, была построена.
Предложенная учителем ситуация вызывает необходимость употребления новой грамматической структуры.
Good, you? Good, very good. Good, make sentences. Let's make sentences. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
Was built.
Good, very nice. Who
was built?
Good, very nice, you.
A cinema was built.
Good, very nice, you. Good,
a city, Athene was built.
Very nice, it's very nice. Athene was built. Good, but
Land was built.
Good, very nice. Let's widen the sentence. And the who is ready? Who? You're welcome. Who? Let's widen the sentence. Who? To the Lord, you're welcome.
Was built in 1975.
Good, very nice. Who else? Who? You're welcome.
Our school was built in 1975 in honor of the 25th Congress of the CPSU.
Very nice. It's very nice. Good. Who else? Who? You're welcome.
Our school was built in 1975 in honor of the 25th Congress in Almazna district.
Good, in Almazna district. Who else? Who? Timchenko?
Our school was built in 1975 in honor of the 25th Congress of the CPSU in Almazna district in order to teach our children and to give them good knowledge.
Very nice, to give them good knowledge. Very nice. What else?
Our school school was built in 1975 in honor of the 25th Congress in Almaznaya district. There are many classrooms in our school. Our Lingafon study was built too in September.
Our Lingafon study was built in September.
I don't agree with you. You understand? It's impossible to build Lingafon study. It is on the market, but on the other hand, it's 5 Lingafon study. It is on the market, but on the other hand, Lingafon study is in the school, and that's why you can say nonsense.
Lingafon study is in the school, and that's why it's impossible to build. Yes, you are quite right. Good, very nice. Let's make dialect. Dialect. Let's make dialect. Sir, you're welcome, dialect. Begin, you're welcome.
What, Anna, from my point of view, our school is the best in Poltava, isn't it? Certainly it is. You are quite right, really. Our school is the best one in Poltava, and so on, because as far as I know, our school is the best one.
Усвоенный материал закрепляется работой в парах.
But as far as I know, our school is built in honor of the 25th Congress. But Rima, sorry my fault, till this time, but it is no way you live. But as regards me, I live in from the street, and to me it's very uncomfortable to go to school.
Разнообразные речевые упражнения составляют содержание и сущность урока. Так достигается главная цель – развитие устной речи.
In this school I study English, and that's why I don't want to go to another school.
Now, all right, good, that's enough. Let's sing the song. What kind of song shall we sing? What kind of song? Sir, you're welcome.
With a smile.
Yes, all right, let's sing.
Закончить урок
So, all right,
можно и
just
так.
begin.
With a smile and gloomy day is bright,
And the rainbow in the sky it must it be, yes. Share your smile and everything's all right. And the beauty turn to you and will be near, yes.
then for sure above the sky will be merry dancing high, and cross hope and dig and run the hidden needle. From the sea the river sky, give a smile from all your heart, give a smile from all your heart, and from the middle. From the sea the river sky, give a smile from all your heart, give a smile from all your from the middle.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Holy cow. I just went and bought some more films from this guy in the Ukraine. Wow. That was nuts. Every one of those I love. I really, really love. And so I bought, and we'll see, I bought one about computers and one about assembling a 16 millimeter projector. So, so those films, I'm trying to remember the names of the titles. There was, one second. They Speak English, obviously, was the last one. Although They Speak English very quickly is what it should have said. Then the first one was Stora Visual Audio Information, which was the AV one. And then for All the Life was the fire safety one. Thanks for going down that path with me. That was really insane. I feel like I want to show that last film again, but slow it down so that we can figure out what they're saying, because it's so fast and they just barely enunciate. Man, woo! That was kind of nuts. All right, let's bring it down. Let's bring it back down and learn about the new Paul Bunyan. And here's another song you can sing. Enjoy.
The trees were here when the first men came. They're here today, but Paul Bunyan, who Paul Bunyan. Oh, the trees were here when the first men came. They're here today, but Paul Bunyan knew Paul Bunyan, a new Paul Bunyan in the woods. We grow new trees and we use them all. We want them straight and we want them tall. There's a new Paul Bunyan, a new Paul Bunyan, a new Paul Bunyan in the woods.
Hundreds of years ago, men first came to these shores. Men who knew they were standing on the threshold of a new world. There in front of them was the forest, the vast and unknown wilderness. What did they see, those early pioneers? Security? There was no security, but there was opportunity as big as the continent. There was hope and freedom. What were their thoughts as they looked at the waiting forest? The early sea captains saw ship timbers, a new mast. But the pioneers saw something else. Out of these trees, they could build homes. Once the land was cleared, they could raise food. So the story of the United States began with this sound, the sound of the axe. History tells us that lumbering became our first industry. Out of sweat and courage and grit, they were building America. The plow of the farmers followed the flashing axe of the woodsman. Then began the rolling, pioneering marching of home-seeking, land-hungry, free people. No man told them where to go, what to do, how to worship. On they went, and always just ahead of them, just over the next rise, was the sound of history. Some of the great spirit of their enterprise lives on in the giant figure of Paul Bunyan, legendary symbol of America's first industry. Many and fabulous are the stories about old Paul. He looked to the north. His double-bitted axe glittered against the sky. And then, where once there had been a trackless wilderness, now sprang up the farms and villages of New England. Paul Bunyan turned to the south. Again, the great axe left his shoulder. And out of the wilderness came Virginia, the Carolinas, and all the great south. Paul looked to the west, toward the setting sun. Again, with every westward stride, every swing of the axe, came a harvest of forest products. And in Paul Bunyan's footsteps, up grew a thriving new nation. With a great sigh that echoed from the mountains, old Paul finally reached the Pacific. The long trek was over. Out of the wilderness, Paul Bunyan had built a new world. But already, old Paul was fading into legend. It was time for a new era, time for a new Paul Bunyan. It was time for men to look thoughtfully at our forest. Fortunately for us, timber is a renewable resource. Trees are living things, and they reproduce themselves. Trees grow, and while they're growing, they must be protected. So many things can happen to trees. Like people, they grow old, they get sick, or become so weak they fall before the wind. Once down, they're useless to man. They lie rotting and bug-infested, cluttering up the forest floor. Trees have many enemies. You see, the health and growth of a tree depends on the cambium layer just inside the bark. Beetles get in and make little tunnels, which cut the lifeline and kill the tree. Tree enemies, like insects or tree diseases, are studied on plots like this. This sign reminds us of another enemy, a devastating enemy, fire. Everybody loses when a forest burns. and repeated fires can kill the land. Carefully, the forests are mapped, and vast sums of money are spent on a system of protection and dependable production. Highways and fire lanes are built, spreading out in all directions. Both private and public agencies cooperate in the endless struggle to find better ways to protect our growing trees. To locate fires once they get started, the new Paul Bunyan builds lookout towers at strategic spots and installs a system of fast reporting. Modern equipment is ready day or night to handle the next emergency. After some fires, nature does a wonderful job of reseeding. But if nature can't help, the new Paul Bunyan turns to his nurseries. Here, seedlings are grown by the millions. It's slow and expensive, but sometimes the only way to reforest idle land. Teams of men go out with their mattocks. Carefully they dig and plant the healthy youngsters. Reforested land, covered with second growth and shrubs, creates ideal conditions for all game. Sportsmen and lumbermen work together because good forest management creates a paradise for hunters and fishermen. Growing and harvesting timber is so much like growing any other crop that the lumberman has become a tree farmer. When you see signs like this, you know the land behind the sign has been dedicated to the permanent production of forest crops. It takes so long to grow trees that the tree farmer often plans for harvests that he won't live to see. Old Paul didn't worry about growing new trees. He left that for Mother Nature. But the new Paul Bunyan knows that trees are one of civilization's most important materials. He thinks of timber as a crop. He works closely with nature, plans for the necessary protection, plans to keep the successive crops coming along. He knows that some trees, like these Douglas firs, grow in dense stands of about the same age. The best system of harvesting here is called area selection. The result, at first glance, looks like a patchwork of cut and uncut areas. But near each cutover piece, there is always a carefully selected block of trees left in a place where they will throw seed onto the harvested areas. Nature will supply the winds, the birds and animals to distribute the precious seeds, to start another crop of trees growing up in the sun-bathed cutover areas. Where trees grow in even stands, area selection works well. But the problem is different in a pine forest, for instance, where trees of all sizes and ages are mixed together. Here, the new Paul Bunyan becomes selective. He picks out mature trees for harvest, a few to an acre, and leaves many behind. Leaves them to grow and protects them. Given proper protection, it takes 25 to 50 years to grow a harvest of pulp, poles, and piling. The new Paul Bunyan works in these long, long cycles. He uses both natural and artificial reseeding to keep growing and harvesting trees, thereby assuring for future generations an adequate supply of forest products. But growing and protecting trees is only of what the new Paul Bunyan is doing. Here's a private logging road. Let's go along and see what's new in harvesting. The new Paul Bunyan is determined not only to keep growing trees, but when it's time to harvest, he is equally determined to harvest the whole crop. This is a pre-logging operation. And the point is, if these trees weren't removed now, they might be damaged or wasted during the main harvest. chokers are fastened around the logs, and strong cables snake them into the landing. They're loaded on specially built trucks and driven to a nearby private railroad. All these logs would have been discarded and left behind in the old days. And here's modern ingenuity at work. A whole truckload of logs lifted up and over in one unit and then lowered onto the waiting railroad car. But this is only pre-logging. Now we're ready for the major harvest. We've come a long way from the logging methods of yesterday. Even the saws are mechanized. But there's still a thrill when the faller cries, bigger log loads call for bigger equipment, more power, more ability to maneuver. Today, the woods resound with the voices of modern machinery, great tractors and much specially built equipment. And watch how easily they handle it. Before we leave these harvesting operations, look over there at that ridge. While the new Paul is harvesting the whole crop, he hasn't forgotten the importance of growing new trees. All that timber up there was left as a seed block to throw seeds down here, so that the whole cycle of growth and harvest will start over again. Meantime, another long trainload of saw logs moves down from the woods. Thousands of miles of truck and railroads link the tree farms and the mills. This is how they come to the mill. Many different species, different sizes, different grades, arriving every day from the woods. They're all dumped into the pond together, and the problem is how to use all of each log. How to get the greatest degree of use from every one. And here comes the boom boat. Squat and powerful, this boat starts them moving, begins the job of saws. Down there, closer to the mills, boom men go to work with their pike poles, sorting out the various species, grades, and sizes, floating them. Each pocket leads to a plant which has been especially designed to get the molecular cut size of log. Some are better for lumber, some for pulp, some for plywood. Others will go into the more than 4,000 forest products which are made from wood. A bull chain brings up the big logs. Try to look at them through the eyes of the new Paul Bunyan. How can we use all of the log? What can we do, for example, with the bark? How to remove it? This is solved by blasting the bark off with water power. 1,300 pounds of pressure to the square inch. Now, the bark-free, clean-to-handle logs move into the sawmill. Formerly, as much as 20% of the logs could not be used. Now, men plan to use everything. The bark, the slabs and edging, all the sawmilling leftovers. The major product of our forest is still lumber, manufactured in thousands of mills all over America. But just outside the lumber mill is an elaborate conveyor system moving the leftovers toward new processing plants. You are looking at the raw material for new products. Hydraulically debarked logs can be processed much more efficiently into pulp and paper. As a result, 18% more of the wood in each pulp log is recovered. Chipping is the first step. Whole logs are reduced to chips by enormous razor-sharp knives. It's all done in a matter of seconds. There they go, screened chips of exactly the right size, on their way to the pulp mill to be made into prime quality paper-making fiber. Now let's look at another example of modern utilization of the forest crop. These specially selected logs are brought over here to be peeled and made into plywood. The bark is removed dry by this specially designed debarker. The logs are literally peeled down to a continuous ribbon of wood. Cut to proper size, the sheets are glued together, and the dry bark, after being processed in a nearby plant, has become an ingredient for glue used to bind the sheets into strong plywood panels. Wherever you look, you'll see this kind of complete utilization. Out of that planing mill come dry shavings. Once they would have been burned. Today they are blown over to a byproduct plant where under 160 pounds of pressure, they are formed into 8-pound Presto logs for use in fireplaces and furnaces, and into smaller sizes for use in stokers. Everything that can be used will be. The dry bark of fir trees, once burned, is now scientifically processed and marketed under the name of Silvicon. Silvicon is used in the manufacture of flooring materials, plastics, rubber products, and a variety of other items essential to modern. Meantime, from the clean, sound trimmings of Douglas fir comes the raw material for a wood fiber product, Silvicell. Because of its toughness and resiliency, Silvicell finds a wide usage, ranging from oil well drilling to a highly efficient type of home insulation. Overland shipments are loaded on trucks or trains from giant storage sheds. Just beyond is the dock, large enough for deep water vessels to take on their cargoes. The new Paul Bunyan plans his mill sites to use the whole of each new harvest. This means he must manage his tree farm so growth and harvest will be in balance, thus assuring a perpetual supply of raw materials for his mills and a permanent and profitable investment. From the air, you can look down and see the integration of the modern mill site. Plants for making lumber, pulp, plywood, paper, insulation, Presto logs, and all the growing list of new products. Over in the research laboratory, work goes ahead steadily in all phases of wood technology, research and development. Out of the painstaking laboratory work like this comes steady progress toward more complete utilization of each forest crop and the creation. There is a steady improvement in the major product, building materials, better quality, packaging, better identify one building material. There are many new structural ideas like these engineered wood trusses. And along with all the new developments, we still know the dignity, the enduring beauty of wood paneling in our offices and in our homes. After all, wood built America. 4 out of 5 of our homes are built of wood. All of them use wood in some form. We need our forest products for that newspaper and that rayon dress in our homes and schools. Truly there is a new Paul Bunyan in the woods, growing and protecting his future harvests on carefully managed tree farms, making use of the whole of his crop in nearby mills, building a stable, permanent industry, providing continuous, profitable employment for men, and assuring future America of ever more abundant enjoyment of the products of the forest.
Wow. Yeah. That forest is only as good as the products you can make from it. That's Weyerhaeuser's idea. is make America beautiful, but only because we can take down the trees and make paper products out of them. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Man, today was a roller coaster ride. And thank you, Kevin and Jeremy, for buying us coffee. You can go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and buy us coffee. I might have to rewatch the They Speak English Soviet film and slow it down and figure out what the hell they're saying. And coffee might help with that. You can also donate to patreon.com/avgeeks. That's a way to, it's kind of a tip jar subscription service. But at the very least, I saw a lot of new faces and names in the comments today, and I very much appreciate your eyeballs. Hit the thumbs up or the like button. Those are great ways to say, hey, this person is doing interesting stuff, and I think it games YouTube and Facebook in a way that it will share it with other people. So we'll get the word out to other people. More the merrier. You can also subscribe. And of course, you can always share this with other people and say, like, hey, this is happening at lunch. Every weekday at 1 p.m. is a great time to see stuff you've maybe never seen before. And that's what we do here. That's what I like. I mean, we literally got those Russian films from the Ukraine yesterday. And so I was happy to be able to get them on the scanner. And we did 2K scans of them while we watched them and try to figure out what the hell was going on. And like I said, that money that was donated today for coffee immediately went to buy some more films from the Ukraine, including some film strips, a film about 16 millimeter projection, and about computers. Very interested to see about computers in the Soviet Union. For many reasons that I will say, if and when those show up. They probably won't show up until December because it takes a while to get them shipped here. But thanks again for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. And as always, please rewind. Love each other with a smiley face, with little eyelashes. Take care of yourself. And we will see you tomorrow.